Hi, I'm Penn Weichart from Skylight Depot in Tucson, Arizona. Now with the new location just south of Dallas, Texas in the Mansfield, Texas area. We ship domes and complete curb mount skylights all over the United States. Hopefully with our new location in Texas, it'll help get product to the East Coast quicker than what if you had ordered from just our Arizona location. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call us. Hope you find our instructional videos helpful. Thanks so much. Common question we get is, I have a broken skylight. Can I replace just the plastic or do I need a new skylight? In most situations, our customers prefer to just replace the plastic, which is similar to our other videos where they basically pull off the retaining frame and then they measure the existing plastic from flat lip to flat lip. However, there are some scenarios where it is better to replace the entire skylight. Most of our customers still prefer to replace just the plastic and reuse their existing frame. But there are some scenarios where it makes sense to change out the frame as well, and some situations where it's required to go in with a new skylight. A situation where it would be required to swap out the entire skylight with the frame would be the outdated dome over frame styles. We see a variation of that skylight in Florida. We also see a different variation of the dome over frame in New York and in the Northeast. We also have some outdated vertical rise styled skylights where you may or may not be able to swap out just the plastic. We also have fiberglass skylights, which those skylights are commonly found in California, where the top frame is made of fiberglass and it's sealed to the plastic in such a way that it makes it very difficult to remove the plastic from that frame to reuse that fiberglass frame. And one of the last scenarios where you may want to consider changing out the frame is just if over time it's weathered so bad and roofers and people have been up on your roof have kind of gone crazy with silicone or caulking, and it's just too messy to take apart and reuse. So those are the situations where you're really going to want to swap out the entire skylight instead of just the plastic. So if you need to replace the entire skylight with the frame, don't be intimidated. The thing about those situations is you already have 90% of the work done, meaning we're going to go into it in a moment, but you already have a flashed in roof, you have a curb built, so there's basically a box sticking up out of your roof that you're going to basically remove the old skylight from the box, and then you're going to cap the new skylight right over the box. So still a project that most homeowners can tackle on their own, and a do-it-yourself project that shouldn't be too intimidating. So what is a curb mount skylight? So we'll start with, in new construction, when someone adds a skylight, they cut a hole in the roof, which is what we call the rough opening, or the inside wood curb dimension, which is from the inside of the wood to the inside of the wood, which should match the hole in the ceiling. There's then an outside curb dimension, which is typically 3 inches wider than the rough opening. Your 2x4s or 2x6s, which are typically used to construct the curb, are 1.5 inches thick on each side when they're standing upright. On the inside of the home, to aesthetically make it pleasing, they typically put drywall or sheetrock along the inside so they can then paint that, what they call the skylight shaft, the area where the light shines in through the skylight and comes down through the shaft portion in the ceiling down to the inside of the home, bringing in light. On the outside, the installer typically uses an underlayment material, and then they use a flashing material that goes under your roofing materials and up alongside the wood curb. That's to keep water from getting into where they cut this hole and build this box on your roof. So ultimately, there's a flashed in curb. All of that's done by the installer. The curb mount skylight is just designed to cap over the existing wood curb that's flashed in. And typically, every skylight manufacturer makes their curb mount sizes slightly different, but in general, they want to have about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch gap of space wider than where the flashed in curb is. So let's talk about the components of the curb mount skylight. So from our previous videos where you're replacing just the plastic, you have the top metal retaining frame, which for demonstration purposes, we didn't screw it in for today. So this is the top retaining frame. It's designed to push down, holding the plastic in place with the base frame of the skylight. We're going to remove the plastic from the base frame and just take a look at this base frame here for a second. So again, this dimension from the inside of the frame, from one side to the other side, from this point to this point is what we would refer to as the rough opening or the inside wood curb dimension. So again, that's the center hole that's cut into the roof. You have in your base frame, you have basically what we refer to as a built-in condensation gutter. So you have an inside condensation gutter track, then you have the outside condensation track. And again, there's typically a rubber gasket that gets pushed down that the dome's resting on. So the design is for any condensation or water that seeps in from the top of the metal frame to collect in this track and force to the corner where it then falls off onto the roof and weeps out. If you have a flat roof, you definitely don't want this perfectly flat. You can always just shim a little under here on top of the curb to let the water just give it a slight gradation to let that water force to the corners. Again, on this skylight, all 4 corners are punched to allow water to drain from any of the corners. So now we have a look at our base frame sitting on top of our curb. So I'm going to take the base frame off of the curb. So when you go to install a skylight, you're going to seal the top of the wood curb, right? This portion here that goes around here. Again, it's approximately 1.5 inches on each side. You're going to seal that to the bottom of the aluminum base frame. So you're basically pushing it down. You're going to seal it with a foam weather stripping, a bead of roofing mastic, or silicone, whichever you prefer, but something to get a good seal there. Then you're going to use pre-punched holes, which in this demo skylight isn't really clear, but on this little side out cut, you have a pre-punched hole that you're going to basically anchor the skylight into the curb. So again, there are several things we can measure on a skylight. When replacing just the plastic, we want to remove the outside metal frame and measure the tip to tip of the plastic underneath. But let's just look at the things that are commonly measured on a skylight. The most common thing when your contractor or a homeowner gets up on their roof, they typically measure the very widest dimension of the retaining frame, which isn't really useful to us. It does give us an idea of what the approximate size of the skylight is, but it's not really helpful. There's also an inside dimension to this retaining frame, which is basically if you think of it like a picture frame that's on your wall, there's an outside dimension to the picture frame from here to here, and then there's the opening dimension from here to here. That's helpful when you're replacing just the plastic to make sure that the bubble is still going to clear the opening. The next thing that you could measure would be the base of the retaining frame, which is close, but if you take the skylight apart and you flip it upside down for the moment, you'll notice that this dimension is typically about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch wider than the dimension from the inside, which is what we really want. And again, when replacing the entire skylight, the most useful dimension is going to be the outside of the flashed-in curb. Again, from side to side, as close up to the top as you can get. Okay, so how do I measure for replacement of my curb mount skylight? So again, I'll just kind of reassemble things together just so we can kind of see. You have your base frame. You can go single or double on your domes. So we have our domes back sitting on our base frame. We've got our retaining frame coming back over top. We have slotted screw holes that'll line up with the inside of the frame to allow you to accommodate for a single dome, double dome, or triple dome. We then have our skylight, which again, when you buy it from us, is going to come completely assembled. So you're going to pull it out of the box, and it's going to, again, cap over the existing curb. So how do we measure for replacement of just the curb mount skylight? If you have an existing skylight already on your roof, the dimension we're most interested in is the flashed-in box that the skylight's currently capping over. If you can pull the entire skylight off the curb to measure it, great. We ideally want to be as high up on the curb as we can possibly be. A lot of times, curbs are built slightly out of square, and a lot of times on big curbs, the bottom of the curb is wider than at the top of the curb. So really, ideally, we want to get as close as we can to doing an edge-to-edge dimension of the flashed-in curb, where the skylight is then going to easily fit over top. If we get to a position where you're having to force it and it doesn't quite fit in there, it will end up bending the frame a little bit up top, the top retaining frame, and it can create a gap where water comes in. So you definitely don't want to have to force it over. You want a little gap. And again, ideally, if the curb is flashed in already, you want about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch gap to cap over it. And then what comes next is, does your current flashed-in curb match one of our pre-cut sizes? So if it does, great. If it doesn't, don't worry. We can make any size you need. So we can make it so it matches your existing curb, which is really what's going to make this project simple and easy to replace on your own. Okay, so just to look at the skylight from the upside down view, the most important part of the skylight, again, is what we call the mounting flange. Some manufacturers call it a max clearance size, but it's basically from the inside of this mounting flange to the other side that's capping over the curb. So from there to there. And again, you ideally want that dimension about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch bigger than your flashed-in curb. And then the other thing that I'll point out is you can see the punch is just really tiny in the corner there. That little gap, that's where that water's draining. It's not very big. It's just comes to the corner and it drains right out. So again, this skylight then just caps right over the box. So let's talk about the material in the skylight. We're starting with the frame. So this is an aluminum extruded frame. In our example right here, this is our bronze anodized color. This one right here is your raw aluminum mill finish. I refer to it as just a silver metallic color. So aluminum in general isn't going to rust, but it can corrode over time. So although both materials should handle weathering very well, on an aluminum curb mount skylight, the frame is made with extruded aluminum. Aluminum is great because it doesn't rust. However, it can corrode with certain weather. The bronze anodized frame should have less corrosion than a mill finish frame, but they'll both perform well. The mill finish is just a silver metallic color. A lot of it is just about pricing and aesthetics. So the bronze anodized or if you went with a bronze powder coat, is more expensive than the raw aluminum mill finish. Really, it's about matching the colors on your roof if you can see the skylight from the ground, or if no one ever sees it, the mill finish frame should work great for your project. I know in our replacement dome section we talk a lot about colors of plastic. This particular frame is a bronze frame with a bronze over clear double dome in it. You could also do a mill finish frame with a bronze over clear dome in it. You could do a mill finish frame with a white over clear dome in it. Or you could just go bronze frame, clear over clear, mill finish frame, clear over clear. In the majority of most skylights, the white is on the outside and the clear is on the inside, but you can reverse it. We do see times where it's clear over white. We do see very rare exceptions where it's white over white, and even more rare, a bronze dome over a white inner dome. But we can do whatever you need as far as the color of the plastic, so let us know what your variation is and we can do it for you. All of our skylights are going to come standard with 2 layers of plastic in this framed skylight. It's what we refer to as a double dome, an outer dome and inner dome with foam tape between it, which prevents the plastic from rubbing against itself. On a single dome skylight, you would go that route to save money. You would normally use a single dome skylight on a shed or a garage, but over most living portions where you're concerned with efficiency, the double would be the standard. In very extreme temperature environments, we can go to a triple layer, which is more expensive, but if you need it, let us know. But again, it's not the norm. It's for extreme cold situations or really extreme hot situations where the double dome currently isn't performing the way you want it to. Okay, dome material. Again, we have acrylic plastic and polycarbonate plastic. The main advantage of the polycarbonate material is impact resistancy. So if you're worried about something striking the skylight, a golf ball, hail, tree limbs, the polycarbonate material is worth the additional investment. But if you're not concerned about any of those things, both materials are equally excellent products. So you're not going to go wrong with one or the other. The only advantage of the polycarbonate material is impact resistancy. A reminder, every single manufacturer makes their skylights slightly different. But the thing I like about this curb mount skylight here is it gives us a pretty good view of a cutout from a side view of the skylight. So first thing that I'll point out is you have your outer dome and your inner dome. Typically, there's about 1 inch to 1.25 inch air gap depending on the overall width and length of the plastic. Then you can kind of clearly see in here that the retaining frame's pushing down on the plastic, sandwiching it in place. It's resting on this little rubber gasket, which is splitting the base frame into 2 channels. Again, the inner track is what we call the condensation gutter, which is trapping water and moisture from the inside of the home. That outer track is catching any water that would seep in from where the plastic meets the frame. We get a lot of customers who say, don't I need to seal this right here? The reason we're not big fans of sealing that right there with silicone is, if any water gets in there, it's going to collect in that track. Gravity is going to force it down to the corner where you can kind of see, if you look from an angle, that there's a cutout there, and then you can also see the cutout right there in the corner. So the retaining frame is hiding, the retaining frame and the base frame is hiding that punched hole at the corner to allow the water to weep out. A couple more things is you've got a screw here, which is, again, there's that pre-slotted hole in the retaining frame. That's screwing it into this little groove here. So you can see the groove where the screw is supposed to go in. And there's a pre-punched hole, which is, again, designed for using your corrosion-resistant nailer screw to anchor it in place into the curb. Mainly on dome skylights, the majority of what we offer is going to be a curb-mounted skylight. We do offer a self-flashing skylight, which there there are lots of advantages to the self-flashing skylight, but what the advantages from an ease of installation are drawbacks on efficiency. So basically, on a self-flashing skylight, when the roofer installer goes to install it, they're basically cutting the hole in the roof. They don't need to build the wood curb. They just set the skylight right over that. And again, they bring their drywall and their sheetrock up on the inside, which somewhat gives it a little efficiency there. But for the most part, you just have a very thin aluminum frame that's basically letting your outside temperature kind of seep into the inside temperature. So this skylight is great in Arizona, parts of Texas where it just doesn't get too cold. But I do worry about this skylight in very extreme cold markets. But for customers who have manufactured home skylights where they had a dome piece of plastic that laid directly onto the roof deck, instead of going back with a dome directly on the roof deck, I would think that this would be a better option to go lay this over the hole instead of a dome without a frame. Again, the nice thing about the frame is you have your vinyl rubber that's basically giving the dome a little buffer. Then you have your condensation gutter and your weeping system, just like on a curb mount skylight. Kind of in summarizing up today, if you decide to purchase a skylight from us, we can only fit one skylight per box. So, up to certain sizes, pretty much I can go up to like a, 2x2, 3x3, 2x4. Once we really go bigger than a 2x4, a lot of times it makes more sense to ship them on a pallet. When we're shipping in a FedEx box, one skylight to each box, when you pull it out of the box, a lot of times you're going to have a protective film on just the outer replacement dome. So most common question I get is, do I have to take the skylight apart to pull the protective blue film off? The answer really is no. Most of our customers just lightly score where the retaining frame meets the edge of the frame and plastic. They score all the way around. Then once they kind of get it to a place where they can peel it up, they just start to peel it from where they scored it. So no need to take apart the skylight to remove the protective film. Any remnants of that protective film that's under the retaining frame will be fine. They can be there for the life of the skylight. If you have multiple skylights that you're looking for, let's say you have a building with 10 skylights on it. Again, I can only fit up to one skylight in a box. So in that scenario, we're going to be better off stacking 10 skylights on a pallet. It'll be more cost effective. Please call us and have us do a freight quote for you instead of just adding it to your cart. The shipping will be out of line, and we definitely try our best to keep the shipping as competitive as we can on these large size packages. So as far as shipping, we have two strategic warehouses for shipping product out. We have an operation in Tucson, Arizona, and we also have an operation in the Dallas, Texas area. And our goal is for most of our pre-cut sizes of things you can add to your cart and check out online, our goal, we strive to have that ship in 1 to 2 business days. Once it ships, it's going to hopefully ship from a warehouse that's closer to you that'll cut down the shipping times. We can fit things into a box up to a certain size. Once we get into these large skylights, we are forced to put them on a pallet and ship them LTL freight. The shipping can get pricey in those situations, but everything we do shipping-wise is geared to make our shipping as competitive as we can. So please let us know your shipping needs. Also, on multiple items, if you have 5 or more, 10 or more skylights, please call us and have us price shipping differently than using FedEx or UPS. FedEx and UPS are great for a few packages at a time, but they can get extremely expensive if we're doing multiple skylights. Again, if we can be of help, don't hesitate to reach out through our contact form or reach out on the phone. We're always here to help you. So again, we want to thank you for visiting our site. As you'll have learned from our instructional videos, there's nothing standard in the skylight industry. So half of our customers don't find the exact thing they're looking for on our website. I want to encourage you to use our contact form or call us, or even better yet, both. When you call us, my name is Penn, P-E-N-N. It's difficult to hear over the phone. I'm happy to help you. If I'm not available to help you, one of our wonderful associates is happy to be of service as well. I will say that, we understand that you as a customer really want to understand, what is my cost? What is this going to cost me? And we will absolutely try to get you there, but please humor us and allow us to ask you some simple questions that really help us understand what your needs are. The most important is obviously your name. We want to get to know who you are. Second, we want to know where you are in the United States. That location helps us identify what type of skylight you may or may not have, or what you may or may not need. We also want to understand if it's for a residential home, a commercial building, an RV, a manufactured home, or if you're just using one of our domes or skylights for some kind of fun art project. Let us know what you're trying to do. We're happy to help. Again, the contact form is helpful. Calling us, we're here to help. Let us know what we can do to be of service and win your business.